Okay, in these next set of videos, we're going to go over the word problems that are in Chapter 8, Section 5. And all of these word problems are going to produce systems of equations that can either be solved using the substitution method or using the addition, or what is also called the elimination method. Which one you're going to use should be apparent from the type of problem, from the system of equations that we construct in order to solve the word problem. So let's take a look at the first one. Sarah took the entire advertising department from her company on a round trip to meet with a potential client. Including Sarah, a total of 10 people took the trip. That's important. 10 people took the trip. She was able to purchase coach tickets for $140. That's important. First class tickets for $1,090. That's important. She used her total budget for airfare for the trip, which was $8,050. That's also very important. And the question is, how many first class tickets did she buy? How many coach tickets did she buy? So in this type of problem, we're trying to solve for two things. We want to find out the number of people who had coach tickets and the number of people who had first class tickets. So since we're trying to find two things, we're going to let x equal the number of coach tickets. And we're going to let y equal the number of first class tickets. So we begin from this point. We have so many first class tickets. So we want to find the cost of the first class tickets plus the cost of the coach tickets. And together they're going to equal the total cost. So let's see, how do we find the cost of the first class tickets? Well, if x represents the number of, in this case, y. I got these kind of backwards from the way we've been talking about it, so I'm just going to swap these around real quick. Alright, since x represents the number of coach tickets, and each coach ticket costs $140, then the cost of the coach tickets is going to be 140 times x. And if each first class ticket, and if y represents the number of first class tickets, and if each first class ticket costs $1,090, then the cost of the first class tickets is going to be 1,090 times y. And together they add up to the total cost, which in this case is $8,050. Now, ordinarily we'd have a problem here because we have one equation with two unknowns and we're unable to solve an equation like that. We do have another piece of information, however, that's very important. And that is, we know that there are 10 people who took the trip. So we can then also write a second equation that looks like this. The number of people who flew coach plus the number of people who flew first class has to be 10. And that little extra piece of information is going to be all that we need in order to be able to solve this problem here. Well, what we're going to do first of all, and you can see we have two equations here. This problem lends itself well to the substitution method. You can do it using addition or elimination, but it lends itself well to substitution because we have these x and y that are all by themselves, which means they have a coefficient of 1. So I'm going to solve for y. Simply subtracting x from both sides, I get y is equal to 10 minus x. Now I'm going to take that information, that other name for y, and I'm going to plug it into the first equation. So I have 140x plus 1,090. Instead of y, I'm going to put 10 minus x in parentheses, set that equal to $8,050. Now I have one equation with one unknown, and this can be solved. So I'm going to use my algebraic process here. I'm going to distribute the 1090 times 10. That's just going to give me an extra 0 at the end there. And then minus 1090x, and that's going to equal 8050. The next step would be to combine like terms on each side individually before I start adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing both sides by the same thing. So what I do have here is I have like terms of 140x and negative 1090x. So if I bring up the calculator, I have 140 minus 1090, and that's going to give me a negative 950x. And so my new equation is negative 950x plus 10,900 equals 8,050. At this point, I'm going to subtract 10,900 from both sides. And when I do that, bring back in the calculator, make sure I don't make any mistakes here. I have 8050 minus 10900 is equal to negative 2,850. And on the left side, I still have the negative 950x. So at this point, all I would need to do is to divide both sides by negative 950. And so, divide by negative 950, negative 950. And once again, I'll use my calculator so I don't make a mistake. I have negative 2850 divided by, and let's see if it'll take the negative there. No. So this calculator is not very good. I am going to start over, and instead I'm just going to simply divide 2850. So you have to be really careful with the technology that you use and understand what it's doing. Now I'm just going to divide two even numbers. Sorry, two positive numbers. And I get 3. Now the reason I'm going to do that is because I know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And so I can just divide the positives. If one were positive, one were negative, I could just divide two positives and then make the sign negative in the end. So you have to know how to use the technology properly. And so we get x equals 3. Well, what does 3 mean? So we go back to our notes, and 3 is the number of, well, x is the number of coach tickets, so that number would be 3. But we know that there's a total of 10 people taking the trip, so if 3 of them are in coach, then 7 of them have to be in first class. So what we would like to do now is just double check to make sure that we did everything correctly. And so I'm going to multiply 3, the number of coach tickets, times 140, and I'm going to multiply 7, the number of first class tickets, times 1090, and together I should get, when I add them, I should get $8,050. Let's bring in our calculator again. And so we have 3 times 140. It's going to give us 420. Then we'll multiply 7 times 1090, and we get 7,630. Now when we add the two together, we get 420 plus 7,630, and that equals, as we expected, $8,050. And so we've checked our work to make sure that everything works correctly there. All right, so to recap here, what we did was we have two things happening here. We have the the cost of the coach tickets, and we have the cost of the first class tickets. And we want to add those two together, but different numbers of people took coach and took first class. And when we find the total value of the tickets, we add them together and set them equal to $8,050, which was the total amount spent. All right, so there is a printout of this available, or a PDF document that has the that has this all written up. So if you'd like, you can refer back to that, or you can rewind or replay the video and go over the steps that you might need more clarification on. Okay, so I will stop this video here and go on to the next.